Welcome to the Bioptimizers Awesome Health Podcast. And now here's your host, Wade T. Lightheart.
Want awesome health? How about doubling your energy? With our free Awesome Health course, you can get a new video and lesson every single day for 84 straight days. The course covers everything from optimizing your digestion, nutrient intake, correct health issues, including weight, skin, energy, immune system, and so much more. The course could easily be worth $200 or $300 for, and yet it's 100% free when you go to bioptimizer.com. That's bioptimizers.com. Once you're there, just enter your name and email to get the first 3 phases of the Bioptimization report. You'll get the report immediately and begin getting your video lessons each and every day from there on in.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It's Wade T. Lightheart from Bioptimizers with another edition of the Awesome Health Podcast. And we're joined or rejoined. I don't know what you'd actually call that. But anyway, Sara Banta is back on our show. She's what I call a motivated mom. And thank God we have motivated moms, because a lot of the best experts today are women who have a passion for the health of their families, who get frustrated with what's currently out there and go on a mission. And if you ever have met a mom on a mission, you know that a lot gets done. And I think a lot of social movements, I think a lot of underlying drivers in society can be associated with mom. And Sara Banta is one of those moms who has dedicated her life to figuring out what's the best goals around and outcomes for, I would say, different than the mainstream media in what you can do for your health, for your vitality, for your family, and how to differentiate the nuances even within your own family. So Sara, welcome back to the podcast.
Thanks, Wade. I'm laughing because just this morning as a mom, I definitely had a mom moment where, menstrual cycle hit my daughter and just threw her for a loop and had to stay home from school. And the last thing I want her to take is Advil. So I have to come up with all of these solutions that work, because the kids won't put up with the fact that it's natural, mom, but it doesn't work. Okay, I'll still do it. It's got to work, right? And so you're right. And now I've got a husband that is asking me how to boost his testosterone and get rid of the excess estrogens. And, he's 53 and life is knocking, and things aren't as easy as they were when you're 20 and 30. So yeah, I'm getting it from all angles. So I better have the solutions, and that's my job. And then what's so great, like I was telling you before we jumped on, is I truly believe God gives me an issue so that I can share it. And number one, as you know, Wade, sleep is the biggest issue that everybody is struggling with in life. It doesn't matter if you're a kid, if you're a mom with babies, if you are now elderly and sleeping 5 hours a night. But I was sleeping great. All of a sudden, my sleep took a dive. Then I started getting anxiety over not sleeping, which then makes the problem worse. Had to do a full reset, started incorporating a new protocol, which included the sleep breakthrough and magnesium breakthrough. Now my Oura Ring tells me I'm at a 94 or above on every single night. And that does not matter how much I had the night before or the day before, as far as my workload and stuff and the stress. It's every night. Bam, bam, bam. So my point is that I always take these health challenges, whether it's my daughter or me, and say, okay, what am I supposed to do with this?
Yeah, I have a theory that our challenges in life are invitations from God to find out our unique capabilities and capacities. So, by the way, I'll echo that. I was using your iodine, your salt, your special iodine salt. What do you call that salt?
We've got the accelerated iodine, and then we've got the accelerated salt. Which,
yeah, it's great. The salt. I was using the salt, my salads. I like it. It's really good. Feels good. And I'm a feel good guy. So what does that mean? That means if something makes me feel good, I know it's good for me. And if something makes me feel bad, not necessarily how something might taste, although salt, I love the taste of salt and I love the taste of your salt. But it's one of those things that I think in a data-driven world, we want to correlate data with our feel experience and make sure that we interpret it those. But when you're a mom and you have a family, and especially as the family evolves through the teenage years, I mean, your credibility is on the line every moment of the day. It's really tough.
Yep.
It's really tough. Now, you kind of cut your teeth on a lot of unique things, but one of the areas that you're focused on is thyroid health. And I just had Elle Russ on the podcast the other day. She wrote the Paleothyroid Solution, and she talks about how she really suffered from thyroid. And turns out there's a lot of people. I think there's like 25, 30 million people in the United States that have thyroid issues. Thyroid is connected to immune response, and we're seeing variances on that. We're also seeing, I think what a lot of people don't understand is the connection between both mental health and hormonal decline, because thyroid is involved in all of those factors, and we're under attack. What can you share with our listeners, maybe some ABCs about thyroid health and how that might be impacting them or how they might improve it?
Yeah, Elle's a friend of mine, and we've worked together before and are on the same page. And number one, you have noticed, I know, in the last 2 years, the mental decline has exponentially increased. That is the true pandemic, right? Well, iodine deficiency is the number one predictor of depression, but it's also the number one predictor of hypothyroidism, slow metabolism. So many people are complaining about that unexplained weight gain, the brain fog, the hair falling out. Your eyebrows are getting thinner. And Wade and I live in California, where every single woman pencils in their eyebrows or gets them tattooed. So it's hard to tell if the person next to you has thinning eyebrows, but they know if they've got thinning eyebrows, and that's one of those symptoms. But they're all suffering from suboptimal thyroid. But then what you have is you have all of these people that are on antidepressants and anti-anxiety drugs, and all of these people that used to be totally normal, and now they're suffering from anxiety and depression. And it's almost like this accepted term. Oh, I just have anxiety this morning about such and such. That's not normal. We're not supposed to have that. So let's look back at the thyroid. And as you mentioned, it's not just the vital hormone gland that helps burn fat and increase metabolism, but it helps with energy, development of the body. It's the master endocrine gland for the whole system, which includes the female ovaries, the male testes, the pituitary, pineal gland, hypothalamus, pancreas, and adrenals. And you've got the HPT axis, the hypothalamus, pituitary, thyroid axis. It plays with the HPA axis, hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal axis, and it also plays with the HPG axis, the gonadal system. So as we were talking about my daughter, who's had her, is dealing with PMS and hormones, one thing that we have noticed in the last 2 months is that women who are now on my new thyroid supplement are all of a sudden saying, oh, my menstrual cycle was so much easier this month. The symptoms have gone away. And so here we are. And this is something that, Wade, I have to tell you, I wasn't even expecting. And this is only 1 month in. But when you then look at depression, and there's something called thyroid depression. And why is that? So let's take a look at what the thyroid is and all of the hormones. You've got T4, and that's the one that most doctors look at. And they usually only test for T4. And I know L. Russ would be talking about this as well. It's the inactive hormone that needs to be converted into T3 to be usable. Well, T4 and T3 stand for tyrosine and 3 and 4 molecules of iodine. That's why iodine is so needed. Now, iodine is no longer found in our diet due to the soils being stripped of all minerals, not just iodine. And the iodine that is there or coming from the waters is toxic or radioactive from Fukushima and Chernobyl. So that's just a little side note on iodine. But due to stress or a backed up liver, and I'm all into, doing liver flushes 3 to 4 times a year, that conversion may not happen from T4 to T3, or even worse yet, may convert into reverse T3 as a stress response. And what happens with that stress response is your body thinks you're running from that tiger, and you're running and you keep running and you keep running because we're in chronic stress mode. So to survive, it slows down your metabolism, slows down your fat burning, actually puts on the fat for survival and says, we're not going to worry about anything else except for to survive. So what we want is that T4 to convert into free T3. And when that's activated, blood sugars released and utilized effectively, metabolism increases and energy increases. So when you've got all the HPT axis affecting the adrenal axis and the gonadal axis, you've got, as stress increases, the adrenals release the stress hormones like cortisol and epinephrine. Then that HPT axis will convert the T4 into T3, slow down the metabolism, and then your mood's going to decrease, of course, right? If we don't have energy and we're fatigued, and now we're upset that we are actually gaining weight, you've got more stress from the weight gain and the fact that you feel horrible. It's this domino effect, and it becomes this vicious cycle. Lower T3 has been shown to be in people with stress-related mental health problems. And both hyper and hypothyroidism have been linked to oxidative stress, inflammation that are produced from excess chronic stress. They can inflame the brain and the gut, and the gut's where the mood neurotransmitters are made: GABA, dopamine, serotonin. So you're affecting not just the thyroid, but the inflammation in the brain and the gut. You're getting leaky gut. If the gut's compromised, it will lead to mood disorders, in addition to also causing bad conversion from T4 to T3. So this is going to compound the issue. The liver is where most of that conversion happens. And you tell me how many people have done a liver flush in the last few months. Right? We all need to cleanse the liver because of the bombardment of the excess estrogens in our environment, the extra radiation that we are being affected by, the cell phones, the social media, the Zoom calls. All of that stuff is going to affect your liver. So that's where the T4 to T3 conversion mostly happens. But the liver is also where anger and frustration emotions are stored. So now you've got this backed up liver that with stored emotions that are also compounding your mood disorder. You're not getting the fat metabolism and protein metabolism in the liver because your liver's backed up. You might be eating some of the wrong healthy foods like sulfur vegetables or egg yolks or onions, garlic, broccoli, cauliflower. Some of these vegetables that used to be healthy for us now are tripping up our detox pathways and backing up the liver even more, slowing down the metabolism. You might be eating some oxalates that love to get lodged into your thyroid, get lodged into your joints, get lodged into your kidneys and cause kidney stones. These are healthy foods like turmeric and kale, spinach, almonds, foods that are okay in moderation, but maybe you've hit that tipping point and you're having too much. And I was talking to a lady who just was diagnosed with breast cancer. And she's a vegan. And she took me through her day of eating. She says, well, I start out with Greek yogurt and berries. I then have a kale shake. I will do a celery juicing, and then I'll have some quinoa, and then I'll do my golden milk with turmeric. And I said, I hate to be the messenger here, but you had oxalates, sulfur and oxalates, and more oxalates. And she said, well, you're never going to get me to eat meat. And I said, okay. By the end of the conversation, I at least got her to say she was going to have some egg whites and maybe some fish. I said, that's all I need. Just let's find something. And Wade, I know you're a vegan and it works for some people, but you, as you know, you have to do it properly. Most people are doing that diet wrong. And you can do a keto diet wrong. You can do a paleo diet wrong. All of these diets have specific situations. Just within 2 days, she says, I cannot believe how good I feel. So it's interesting. We all have different genetics, but if your gut is being disrupted or the liver is being backed up, then you are not processing the estrogens, which we can get into in a little bit as far as the hormonal balance, but it's also affecting your thyroid hormone conversion to the active free T3. And that is what L really goes after, is to get, how do we get free T3? Then you've got the adrenals. So here we are, we're totally chronically stressed. The adrenals sit on top of the kidneys. The kidneys will become inflamed as they're holding up the adrenals that are working so hard. As they are becoming inflamed, some of that conversion T4 to T3 does happen in the kidneys. That conversion isn't going to happen. And that those kidneys being inflamed are actually going to make you retain more water. The kidneys also hold the emotion fear. So then you've got stress causing fear, causing more stress, causing more fear. And it's that vicious cycle again. Then you've got what's called thyrostress. And this is essentially stress about your thyroid disease. So it's this vicious cycle. And then it, of course, affects your sex hormones. Testosterone will start declining. Estrogen will increase. You also have the estrogens from the environment that I mentioned, from the GMOs, and then from sugar. Sugar actually increases estrogens in the body. Conventional meat, poultry, and dairy, 90% of the livestock animals have estrogen implants behind their ears, and that's causing them to get fatter and get to the market faster. So that's why they're there. Then we've got all the pesticides, herbicides, and fungicides. But just with the thyroid health affecting the sex hormones, you're going to get an increase in estrogens and more aromatization from the testosterone to the estrogen in women and men. And for us women, we need testosterone. It's, we have more testosterone than estrogen. We just don't have as much as men do. So you've got a lot of women with different female diseases, PCOS being one of them, and that's the most popular, I should say, female hormonal disease. I had it, could not get pregnant because of my PCOS. What did the doctor tell me? They told me, here, take some Clomid so we can get you pregnant. They didn't tell me that it was related to my thyroid. They didn't tell me, and by the way, my thyroid, my TSH, is the only thing they tested. I was within normal range, but they didn't test my T4, my T3, my reverse T3. And then they also didn't test my blood sugar. PCOS is directly correlated to insulin resistance. And fast forward to me already having my 3 babies, not wanting to get pregnant anymore, having this aha moment that my PCOS was related to my thyroid disease and to my insulin resistance, all of a sudden I could get pregnant. I didn't want to get pregnant anymore, but now everything was regulated. So it is affecting your sex hormones as well. And so what I always tell people is look for these symptoms. Are you fatigued? Do you have brain fog? Are you depressed? Do you have unexplained weight gain? Are you wired and tired and have insomnia? You can't get out of that fight or flight mode. And then maybe some of you have bouts of manic and depressive states. Those are all signs that your thyroid could be affecting your mental health. And then the other sign is if you're on an antidepressant and it's not working, because that medication is not going to fix your thyroid issues. I was actually talking to a psychologist the other day, and she will ask her clients who are on antidepressants and say, did your doctor test your thyroid? And they always say no. Doctors do not routinely test the thyroid health. So 30 to 50% of people on antidepressants don't get relief. And that's because it's usually tied to their thyroid. So I'll stop there. I want to give you a chance to pipe in.
So it was a lot of info. And it was great. It was concise and clear. And so for our listeners who might have been scrabbling down some notes, I want to back the truck up because it kind of outlined the problem side of it. But let's talk about a liver detox solution, because it would seem that that's one of the ways that we can take action and improve both our mental health, our thyroid health, our metabolism, our hormone. Why does a liver flush or a liver cleanse, depending how you want to call it, or the type of process you're using, why does it work? And what are some things that you suggest that people can do?
And now for a Bioptimizers fixed digestion tip, rapid cheat meal relief. Research shows that cheat meals can actually be an effective way to boost your metabolism. One key weight loss hormone, leptin, can be increased by up to 30% following a cheat meal. The challenge with the cheat meals is that all those extra calories and lower food quality can be hard to digest, which means you could be totally sidelined with a food coma after big cheat meals. The solution is to take strong digestive enzymes like masszymes, which will help rapidly digest and break down the extra food. 3 to 5 capsules before or right after your cheat meal can make a huge difference in how you feel following the cheat meal. If it's a cheat day with multiple large meals, you might want to go up to 10 capsules or higher to help you power through all that food. To save 10% on masszymes, go to masszymes.com. That's MASSZYMES.com and enter the code CHEAT10 at checkout.
So what I want to make sure people know that any of my cleanses that I go through, you're not hangry, you're not juicing, you're not on a low calorie diet. I am feeding you real food, but food that's clean for your liver. So through the liver process, cleansing process that I take you through, there's some supplements that you start on, including the accelerated keto, which slowly starts to go after your fatty liver. If you can't see your belly button, you've got fatty liver and you've got visceral fat. We need to get rid of that, right? But if you've got fatty liver, that's stopping the conversion of the thyroid conversion, but you're also compromising your fat and protein metabolic rate, and you can't break those things down. And Wade, what else we've seen in the last 2 years, whether you've been vaccinated or not, whether you have had COVID or just been around people with COVID, that spike protein has inhibited the metabolism of protein and fat. So a lot of people come to me and say, I can't eat meat anymore because I get really nauseous. Well, that's your liver not working. So this is why it's even more important than ever. So with the accelerated keto, it kicks you into fat burning mode right away. you are intermittent fasting. And as you're intermittent fasting, it's got other ingredients in there to go after fatty liver, to go after that visceral fat, to cleanse the liver, and to give you this amazing energy while you're doing it. It's got some pure calf, dynamine, and teocrine, and the synergy between those three supplements or ingredients give you this non-jittery, awesome energy throughout the day. So that when you are ready to eat, you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to make some good choices. I'm not craving the sugars. And during that intermittent fasting window, you have started to cleanse the liver. It's going after that fat. No other keto supplement does this. So then after doing that, and after doing the acceleradine iodine, which also helps regulate the hormones, increase testosterone, reduce the estrogens, and increase your thyroid health, detoxing the body of the heavy metals and the radiation that we're trying to get rid of, that's also affecting the liver. And then a couple other supplements in the first part of the cleanse. Then you start incorporating liver cleansing supplements. So you're just taking a couple extra pills for 2 weeks, a detox powder at night that soaks up all the toxins so you don't have that Herxheimer reaction, or you don't get hangry or a headache. A lot of people, when they detox or when they juice, they complain of these headaches and then they give up the next day. Where are we right now? Mid to late January. And I'm sure a lot of people said they weren't going to drink January 1. They were going to do a cleanse, and they've already given up because they don't feel good. And I want you to feel good day one. Then what happens at the end of the cleanse, you are actually taking an olive oil and citrus fruit drink. You're laying on your right side, and you're going to see hundreds to thousands of pea-sized stones come out of you and go in the toilet. And when you see those in the toilet, you think to yourself, well, no wonder I couldn't metabolize fat and proteins, and no wonder my thyroid hormones were not converting to the active hormones. And oh my God, I feel like a weight has been lifted off me, and the toxic people are out of my life, and I'm not getting upset over what my husband did last night. All of these things start feeling better mentally, physically, and spiritually. And you don't realize how many toxins from the water, the food supply. Our tap water has birth control pills in it and estrogens that from all these women using them and urinating out, and it's not being filtered. So whether you've got a filter in your drinking water, if you're taking a shower with this tap water, you're getting exposed to it. You've got, prescription drugs that are causing this increase in estrogen. You've got the fluoride in the water, the chlorine in the water, bromide that is in our, soft drinks and our bread. Bromide is illegal in Europe, and it's illegal for a reason. It's fine to use in the United States. I live in California, as you do, Wade, and anytime that there's a fire and they're dumping that fire tardation, whatever it is, that's full of bromide. So that's where you need to be doing more of the acceleradine iodine, because when your thyroid and all 100 trillion cells in your body are supplemented and have sufficient iodine, there's no room for the chlorine, fluoride, or bromide to get into those receptor sites. So just like the toxins are attracted to those iodine receptor sites, so are the oxalates. So if you have a sufficient iodine in your body, you might be able to get away with eating more oxalates than if you weren't. And those oxalates are like little toothpicks that just like to get jabbed into your tissues.
I have an interesting sidebar, because I know this is one of the questions I have, and it seems to be emerging, and you might see some trends. Some of the food and drug administrations, or some of the big pharma foods are now putting mRNA technology inside of the meat products. So when someone is, say, moving into a ketogenic style diet, how do they ensure they're not getting these high estrogen, mRNA vaccine, hormonally discordant? Like, how do they go into a place that might be healthy in that kind of diet?
I'm really glad you asked, because I am not, like, if I were to go to a restaurant and the choices are chicken, conventional beef, or a vegan meal, and believe me, I love my meat, I will have the vegan meal if it's organic, because the poultry, the pork, the conventional beef, they are all getting these estrogen plants. They're all in their ears. They're all eating GMO grains, soy, and we are what we ate, right? So it's not just what we eat. So I really promote wild animal protein, bison, lamb, organic eggs, wild fish, and it has to be wild. Deer, elk. If you know someone that hunts, become their best friend. You know, let's see, what else is there? My favorites are bison and lamb, because they're super easy to cook. There are tons of websites and farms out there, ranches out there that have these meats. They deliver to your front doorstep for $15. Most of my meat ships in a box and it's in the freezer. And what's great about that is when my kids are picky and I want, a bison ribeye and they want a burger, I just pull out whatever is, whatever everybody wants. We all throw it on the barbecue and it's super easy to cook and it's not expensive. So very specifically, you want to make sure your meat is wild animal protein. And what I'm also coming to find is that there is lamb and bison that is grain fed and not wild. So you even have to start being careful with some of those meats as well. And I through my free group coaching, I specifically talk about what vegetables to focus on, what foods might trigger you, but be healthy for the rest of your family according to your genetic code. Not everything is good for me that's good for you. And I teach you what the signs are to look for to know if something is helping you detox or clogging up your detox pathways. And you can feel a difference within a couple days of being on the right foods that may be wrong for someone else.
You mentioned mental health in its relationship with thyroid and medication. We have, I think it's a quarter of the population on antidepressants now. It's a massive amount, and it increased exponentially over the pandemic response and some of the separations in the social circles. And people are slowly coming out of that, but you can see the damage has been done socially. With maybe patterns of behavior and how people have just got used to being kind of shuttered up in their house and not communicating or being involved in the social things. And they may have fears or they may have the associated things. And then there might be a sense of helplessness. What are some of the signs that your mental health is being impaired because of improper thyroid? And how might you, if you're on medication and you haven't, you're not experiencing the results, how do you go about addressing your physician about what you want checked or what you could potentially do?
This is my favorite question, because at my rock bottom, I was dealing with gut issues and my GI doctor said, "Oh, you've got IBS," and shut the door behind me and gave me no answers. You are your own doctor. So you have to go with your intuition. I try to give you the tools and the signs and symptoms to look for and to empower you. Let's take thyroid medication first. Most thyroid medication that people are on is inactive T4. T4 is useless unless the liver detoxes properly and is able to convert it into active T3. The metabolism, the mental and the physical energy and immunity, will all suffer. Are you always sick? How do you feel? Do you want to get out of bed? Do you have brain fog? Is your hair falling out? Are your nails brittle? Those are all signs that your medication isn't working. All those thyroid medications are not addressing the toxins from radiation and halogens, the fluoride, bromide, and chlorine I was talking about, that clog the thyroid in the liver, leading to anxiety, depression, and ADHD. Serotonin, the happy hormone, and norepinephrine, which is responsible for focus and energy, are both positively associated with T3. Acetylcholine and glutamate are positively correlated to thyroid levels, and long-term cortisol release inhibit the T4 to T3 conversion. So for all those reasons, the T4 medications are not going to work. Okay, so then you've got dopamine, or our drive. Dopamine and testosterone are my favorite hormones. So dopamine is going to get you to get out of bed and go work out and go thrive in life and go, whatever it is, whatever you're after. It's positively correlated to T3 levels. So, if you're and how are we dealing with our dopamine right now? This is a sidebar, but if you are on social media and you're the kids that are in their room isolated on their phones, seeing how many likes they got, they're slowly lowering their base level of dopamine. Okay. Mm-hmm. And in the last couple of years, it's not just alcohol, or drugs, but we've got all of these free addictions. We've got porn, gambling, social media, sugar, and yes, the alcohol. So everyone's home, they're isolated, the pantry's right there. Instead of being at the office all day, you are at home and you have access to the kitchen, and you've got access to your phone 24/7. You've got access to porn and all of these things. These are free. So the access is really a big part of the problem. So your dopamine is going to lower, and you just need a lot more of that social media or the porn or the gambling to just get to base level. So this is also affecting your thyroid, right? So they're all kind of related. And with my kids, believe me, there is a time limit that I'm allowing them to be on their phones. They are not on their phones at the dinner table. They sit and they have conversation with eye contact. And if I see any slippage in their mood, I take their phones away. It's a non-negotiable in our house.
Yeah, so that's some good tips, I think, for moms, because I think I talk to parents all the time, and all of them are in sort of this kind of crisis situation. It's like, well, all the kids at school have phones, and maybe their homework is done on iPads or whatever, and they can kind of see their child drifting maybe in a certain direction that's not positive, but they don't know how to regulate it and how to manage the social pressure and educational pressure that they might be under with the mitigation of negative downside behavior. So do you have any suggestions on time limits that you find in those monitoring pieces for kids?
I look at their screen time. I know that my kids are in tough, challenging classes for them, whatever that means for each one of them. I have 3 kids, 3 very different profiles, 3 very different tendencies. And if you're a parent out there, you know that your kids don't come out with a handbook, right? So you've got to handle each one differently. But I will look at their screen time. They are also in sports. I know for at least 3 hours at practice, they're not on their phone. When they come home, they're not on their phone at the dinner table. So just by those natural barriers, they're not going to be. But Wade, with everything that's gone on with TikTok, I can tell you that TikTok was deleted from their phones. They looked at me and they said, "Oh, but Mom, that one's so much fun." I said, Do you want to pay for your cell phone? Because you can. And if you do, you're also going to feed yourself. You're going to pay for your insurance. You're going to pay for your car and all these other privileges that I've given you and that I take care of. Mm-hmm. So what would you like to do? So many parents are scared of their children.
Right.
And I don't understand it. You are the one in control, but at the same time, you have to explain to them why. Yeah. You can't just say, don't eat this, don't do that. You have to say why. And they've got to own what they're doing and their behaviors. Because if they don't own it, it means nothing. You know, take food, for instance. If they don't own the fact that sugar's bad for them and that the protein or the healthy food makes them feel good and perform well in school, gets rid of their ADHD, gets rid of their headaches or their PMS symptoms. If they don't own that, they're going to start sneaking food in their room. They're going to be sneaking the alcohol. They're going to go hang out at their friend's house for dinner. And maybe they're not eating dinner. Maybe they're just, you know, that's where you need to teach your child the why. And this is something I'm super passionate about. Eventually I'm going to write a book because, you know, these things where you are in control of your children until they've got their bicycle and their 7-Eleven money in junior high. So during the elementary school, preschool ages, those are key moments to teach your kids why they're doing something, what they're doing. My eldest child, he had leukemia at the age of 9. His big wow moment was, well, I better eat right so I don't die, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. My daughter was 4 years old, didn't have the energy to go on a bike ride around the block. She had asthma and allergies, anemia. She is now an 18-year-old committed to go to USC for rowing crew, the most athletic anaerobic and aerobic sport all in one, and at the highest level. That girl would not get on her bike at 4 years old because she felt so weak and fatigued. So I don't have to worry about what she's eating. I've taught her the reason that she needs to eat a certain way for her body type. Right. And my youngest, she had issues with reading. She had issues with comprehension at the age of 8 years old. We couldn't figure it out. So she's eating in a different way. She also has menstrual issues that could be really painful. My other daughter doesn't, but this one does. So we're eating a different way for her, and she's owning it. Because does she want to miss school for having pain? That girl is getting A's in her honors English classes. So when you teach a kid what to do for their own mental, physical, and spiritual well-being, they will hold on to it. And then giving them the supplements and the tools that give them that leg up. Because unfortunately, in our diet, it's not sufficient anymore. And I've created the Acceleradine is a game changer for everybody, because 96% of the population is deficient in iodine, and it's the number one predictor for increasing IQ. Super important for women that are pregnant and for young children. Also helps with growth. But then we just came out with is the accelerated thyroid. And this is a supplement where I've been taking multiple thyroid supplements to support my thyroid. I never got myself on medication. And with that, I wanted to save people money by putting it all in one. We combined Ayurvedic herbal called Conchinara, but not just Conchinara, because there's a lot of really cheap manufactured, but we took it from the master herbalist formulation, added that to glandular therapy, added a couple extra ingredients that support the thyroid. But then what we do, Wade, with all of our accelerated supplements is we enhance them with scalar frequencies and the accelerated thyroid is enhanced to heal the thyroid, neutralize the toxins found in the thyroid that we've talked about, the chlorine, the fluoride, and the bromine and other metals, and neutralize the radiation and nuclear fallout. So you combine that with the acceleradine, and then the accelerated keto. You don't have to be on a high-fat diet to use the accelerated keto. And the feedback in just 1 month from people is just blowing my mind. People that have autoimmune diseases that need to take a nap every single day are all of a sudden waking up earlier, have a full life with their husband, a relationship that they didn't have for 20 years. It had the autoimmune issues of arthritis is going away. They feel good. Their brain is working. It was really cute. I have a friend's daughter who just started this protocol. She's 18 years old. She goes, Sara, I'm so happy. I don't know why. I'm just so happy. And you could tell her mood is improved. And it really speaks volumes to how the thyroid and the metabolism affects your mental health, which then affects your physical health, because now we've got the energy to go exercise. And when we exercise, we probably sleep better. The stress is lower. Our GABA, our dopamine, our serotonin increase. Our gut is healing. Our liver's cleansing on a daily basis. We're not bloated. We're not retaining water. And everything just starts to work better and fall in line.
So where can people find these products, get access to your site, your information, so that they know exactly how to use, utilize, and optimize this for their own physical, mental, and hormonal well-being?
Well, my website's sarabantahealth.com, and that's Sara without an H. And there you'll find links to my free group coaching. It's a great place to start because you can just join and learn and listen and ask your questions. And we troubleshoot as a group, and you've got a like-minded group that just wants to support each other. And Wade, as we talked about, everyone's isolating themselves. It's kind of a nice place to just jump into a community where you're not isolated. And then you start engaging with that community, which is huge as far as mental health as well. And I answer all the questions. Unfortunately for my husband and my family, I love what I do, and I answer questions on Saturday nights and Sunday mornings, but I'm usually very active in the group, posting articles and videos that address different topics and really help people with their chronic issues and diseases. I truly believe that all chronic disease can be reversed. And the answer for you might not be the answer for the person next to you. And so I don't treat everyone the same, but I really do like to help see the stories that come back to me and the testimonials. That feeds my soul, and that's why I do what I do.
Sara, you're a wealth of knowledge, and you've provided an extraordinary amount of solid information for people. And I would encourage, if you are listening to this podcast and you are wondering why you're gaining weight, not feeling your mental best, or your hormones are out of whack, check out Sara's site, connecting with her community, and try some of her products. I really like her thyroid products. I think they're great, and I use them, and they're awesome. And I think you'll find the same thing, because your health is worth it. So if you like it, share it. If you don't like it, well, don't share it. But I think this information was really good. So thanks so much for joining us today on the Awesome Health Podcast. I want to thank Sara for joining us, and we'll see you on the next episode.
And now for a Bioptimizers fixed digestion tip. Turn cultured foods into superfoods. Raw fermented foods like sauerkraut and low sugar, live yogurt can be good for you, but rarely have enough of the right probiotic strains for therapeutic benefit. So here's a way that you can turn them into superfoods. What I do is I get some raw sauerkraut or a healthy yogurt. Ideally, it's grass-fed or coconut-based, and you can empty 3 caps of P3OM into a container and mix it up thoroughly. Leave it at room temperature for a couple of hours before putting it back into the fridge. And what's going to happen is these probiotic levels will be multiplied. In fact, it doubles every 20 minutes. And then what you're going to get is you're going to have a food with strong proteolytic activity. To learn more about P3OM and why its patented strains make it the strongest probiotic available, go to www.bioptimizers.com.
Thank you for listening to the Bioptimizers Awesome Health Podcast. You can find more information at bioptimizers.com.